Hi, Peter Rose, Longwood Currency Trading. Today I want to talk about how I define a scalper and why I sort of term myself as a scalper. I wanted to do this outside today because it's supposed to get up to 100 degrees here in New England. Holy mackerel. July of 2020, we've had some really hot days. Well, right now up on the mountain, it's still a little cool with the dew on the grass, and there's a little breeze blowing. So I thought I'd get out here, as I am not coming back out for the rest of the day. I'm just going to sit inside with the fan going. I've had questions about why I consider myself more of a scalper than I would consider myself a short-term trader, a swing trader, or a long-term trader, or all the other definitions that we have as to who you are, how you define yourself in the trading world. And I sort of go as scalper because I'm happy to pick up 2 pips or 3 pips. If things are going bad, I'm just going to get out of the trade. My daily goal is 0.5%, $5 a thousand. And that doesn't sound like much if you're trading a mini account, $5. Doesn't even sound like much if you're trading a full lot, $10,000 bank, and you make $50 a day. It's not life-changing income until you can do that every day. If you could pull out 5 pips or 0.5%, let's go by percentage. If you could pull out, which is 5 pips a thousand, okay, and that's, I mean, if you fund your account properly and stuff, then 5 pips is going to be 0.5% of that best practices bank. But if you could do 0.5% a day, 4 days a week, that's 2% a week. And so, you know, run the math out. It's a shit house full of money at the end of the year. The argument to scalping is that you have to take so many trades for so little profit that when you finally do hit a loser, it takes all the profits away. And that's true, but that's the view of the long-term trader. That's not the view of the shorter-term trader who looks more mathematically at this stuff. And you really do have to look mathematically at it when you're doing stuff like scalping. There's actually less risk in scalping because you have more control. Because you have more control over your risk. Sure, a long-term trader is going to have a profit target of, oh, I don't know, you know, what do you have? 30 pips, 80 pips, 200 pips. And so your risk then is correspondingly 30 pips, 50 pips, 200 pips, whatever that is, in order to at least get that 1-to-1 ratio. And most of them would like to trade 2 times gain for the risk. Okay, so let's say you've got, you're looking for 100 pip swings. You're a swing trader, so you're looking for 100 pips. You're not going to make that a day. Well, I mean, no, you might if you catch it right, but if you're in that volatile of a currency pair where 100 pip swings are trendable, you know, you're getting trends of 100 pips a day, then the negative volatility it will work against you as well. Look, boys and girls, it all works out in the end. You're looking for 100 pips, you're taking a 50 pip risk. So they say, well, if you're looking for a 5 pip gain, then you got to be taking a 2 pip risk, and there's no way you could take a 2 pip risk because you just get that in sweat chatter, you know. So you got to be taking 10 or 20 pip risk, and you should be striving for, you know, 10 pips or something. Well, that's just crazy. Well, it's crazy because you can't understand that if the scalper doesn't base their, or they shouldn't base their risk on structure. Everybody talks about structure. Well, the structure is such and such and such and such, and so price could get down to this next structure level. We don't worry about stuff like that. We take, or we should take, if you're a scalper, a set pip amount of loss. Not a dollar amount, but a pip amount. Mine happens to be 8 pips. I've got the math all figured out. I'm not going to waste your time going through it, but I got an 8 pip risk if I'm going to take a trade. Hard and fast. I'm not going to take a trade unless there's 25 pips to 30 pips to be made on the trade from a structural standpoint, the way everybody else would judge their trade. So I'm not getting into the trade unless there's 25 or 30 pips to be had. But I'm going to take an 8 pip risk, which is, you know, I mean, if I had a 25 pip profit target, that's almost 3 times the gain per risk. So, you know, you'd say, well, you're not a scalper then. You're trading with a short risk, you know, short risk, and trying for this gain, and you're just going to get stopped out. Yeah, I'm probably going to get stopped out under those conditions if I was to hold my trade to try to get the full 25 pips. So that's why I say my goal is to get 0.5%. I'm going to get 5 pips on the trade, and I'm going to lock that. And then whatever happens, happens beyond that. Most of my trades I'll get, I think I average about 12 pips. 12 pips a trade. That's over all the winners and the losers and, you know, everything else. So that's pretty good. But I'm still taking that 8 pip risk. So there's less risk, 8 pips, as opposed to the guy that's taking 50 pip risk to make 100 pips. The percentage is perhaps the same, but it's 50 pips. I mean, come on, 50 pips is $500 on a full lot. That's a lot of money. And your emotions take into consideration then. If I'm just working on 5 pips with an 8 pip risk, yeah, my risk to reward is inverted, but what do I care? Because my win to loss ratio is so much higher because I'm in total control of the trade. I don't have to do a carry trade overnight. I don't have to think about anything. I look at the trade. Does it offer me 25 or 30 pips? Great. I take the trade. I mean, not just because it offers it to me, but there has to be certain momentum characteristics to price action, and there has to be blah, 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 all the other rules that anybody else would go by. But regardless of that, if it goes against me, I'm out at 8 pips. Now, that means that not only do I have less risk, but I have total control. And because of that, it's all foundational on simpler rules. If I'm trading on the daily chart, or the weekly, God forbid, I've got to know the fundamentals really well. I've got to be looking at non-farm payroll. I've got to be looking at the difference between a short-term trend and a long-term trend, at the chop with the channels, width of the channels on the chop. I've got to be concerned about risk and reward to a very rigorous degree. I've got to be learning all about how to trail stops, or how to, there's a whole philosophy and methodology of just getting out of positions. Do you stage out? Do you stage into the trades? What do you do? It's the time of day is critical. You know, all these things that you have to consider. Why bother with all that shit? There's some mathematics that you need to understand, and some basic laws of psychology that are predictable. The names may change, but the humanity doesn't change. Fear, greed, hope, they're all the same no matter who we are. So I can develop a far simpler set of rules and sit down at the desk and bang away for an hour or two in the morning, and then I'm done. I don't have to sit there all day. And I don't have to do like a 4-hour chart trade where every 4 hours I have to look at the chart. And if I'm on a 4-hour chart, I'm going to carry a whole lot of stuff overnight. So then I have to rely on limit orders. And what happens if the limit order doesn't get snapped? How am I going to manage that? I can't manage that trade when I'm asleep. It's crazy. And so the simpler rules that the scalper has, I think, are of great benefit. Again, the argument is, Well, gee, you're going to take a bunch of these 3 pip, 5 pip gains, and then one loss, even at 8 pips, is going to bring your account way down. I win twice, 10 pips, and I lose once, 8 pips. How did I make out for the day? Not very good. If I was a 1 in 3 win trader, I'm not doing very good. I have to do that 3 trades 10 times a day in order to, or 20 times a day in order to make that 1 or 2 pips amount to anything. So the argument that one loss will wipe out all the gains is missing the point. Again, that's the view of the long-term trader. They don't see that. They don't see the fact that you're scalping simply means I'm happy with 3 pips because my daily goal is just 5 pips. If I can do 5 pips, I'm going to end up making a lot of money. The longer-term trader, and this is why I think a lot of new traders fail, is because they listen to this shit that's being taught out there, and they're putting trades on that are looking at 100 pip targets and 50 pip risks. I took a course from a guy, and that's what he was teaching. He was teaching techniques and staging out of trades, and I remember asking him, I said, 50 pips? Man, that's $500 per lot. So if I'm trading with 3 lots or 5 lots, I mean, that's $1,500. I mean, I just can't, I don't see that. How can you take that much risk? How many times on a $10,000 account can you lose $500 and not start shooting down and hitting toward your margin? You know, if your margin is 700 out of the 7,000 out of the 10,000, you've got 3,000 to trade. Divide 500 into that, and that's how many times you could lose before you're down to the wood. And statistically, if you trade a lot, which we all do, you're going to hit 6 losses in a row somewhere along the line. Well, you're going to hit 6 wins in a row as well, because the probabilities go both ways. But Jesus, 6 losses of $500, you're out. You're done. That's what happened to me when I opened my first account. I did a SIM account with $40,000. I opened my first live account with $40,000 because that's the way you were taught how to trade. Whatever you learn in the SIM account, open it in the large account. I had a little bit of advantage because I had the $40,000 that I was trading with the SIM account in, where most traders, when they're learning, they'll learn in a $40,000 or $50,000 SIM account because that's what the broker gives them, and then they go out and they try to trade two mini lots. It just doesn't make any sense. It's crazy. In any event, the risk is a better risk to reward at 8 pip risk when I'm really shooting for 30 than what the long-term traders are giving us credit for. And look, if the trade starts to go against me, even at that 5 pip thing, if it goes 5 pips, and I mean, you got to let it go 7 or so or 8 in order to bring the stop up to even, to make your trade safe, because if you bring your stop up too soon, just a little puke will take you out. So you have to be cognizant of all that sort of stuff. But if that thing doesn't do immediately, again, I'm working on immediacy. If it doesn't do immediately what I want to do, I get out. So I get out with a 2 pip loss, or I get out with a 3 pip gain or something like that. All that little shit just accumulates. And if you've got a good win-to-loss ratio, which I do, then all those little hits will give me that 0.5%, just screwing around while the market chops. But somewhere during the 10 or 20 trades that I may take a day, I'll hit one that'll run 13 or 20 pips. Now, I might have lost 10 prior to that, but now I run one and I grab 20. So now I'm 10 pips for the day. I'm 2 times what I need. I'm 1% on my risk. I mean, that's just how I feel as a scalper. And you know what it all really boils down to is your personality. Is your personality set up such that you are more comfortable doing long-term trading and checking your prices at the close every day, trading on a daily chart? Or do you mind sitting there for a couple hours and knocking out 10 or 15 trades? You know, everybody says, oh, there's so much stress in trading. There's no stress in trading. If you're under stress, you shouldn't be fucking trading, okay? Trading is fun. Trading is simple. What are you going to do? You're going to get your shorts all wound up because you're losing a little bit of fucking money? Don't be trading if you're under stress. If you have a personality that's geared for stress, you shouldn't be trading. Man, scalping is not stressful. Do you think a video game player is under stress? He's under excitement. That's not stress. That's not bad for your health. It's fun. And your video game player isn't getting paid. I'm getting paid to have fun. I couldn't get any better than that. So that's my definition of a scalper. It fits my personality. If it doesn't fit your personality, don't piss at me. Do your long-term trading. But I'll tell you this. If you can learn how to scalp, you can map those skills directly into the longer-term trading, which I do. On a weekly basis, I'll end up with a long-term trade. I'll even do a carry trade when that becomes viable to do. But let me tell you something. If you become a long-term trader, you are not building any skills to become a scalper, and you shouldn't even try it. And that's why the longer-term traders poop on us guys that are doing the scalping, because they just don't understand it. It's not in their DNA. But a scalper can understand the long-term and can morph between the two. Look, it's like when my son was looking for a career. I lived on the water when the kids were growing up. They all had boats. He was into boats and stuff. And he thought, well, he works on boats all the time. Geez, I'd come down there. He was 12 years old, and I'd come down there, and you have a $3,000 marine engine torn apart on the dock. I said, oh, man, what's going on here? He said, Dad, I got this. And then I'd go away, and then I'd come back a couple hours later, and the thing was all back together again, and it was fine. And he was thinking about a career in marine mechanics. And we sort of talked him out of that, because you don't want to be underneath a boat in New England pulling a transmission out or changing a propeller blade out when there's 6 inches of snow on the ground. So he took 2 years to get an associate's degree in automotive technology. And what's interesting is that he says now that he's got 15 years in the business, as well as the advice that we got from a guy who was a marine mechanic and knew automotive mechanics as well. He said, if you become a marine mechanic, you can't take those skills easily and map them into working on cars or trucks. But if you work on cars and trucks, it's easy to go back and work on a marine engine. And I found that very interesting. And you can check that out if you want, but that's true, and anybody who's in the business who's done both will tell you that. I'm a scalper because of my personality, but I can also morph that and do long-term trading, and I've been successful when I've done some of those trades. But I know that if I was just a long-term trader and I tried to become a scalper, baby, man, my roids would get flared really bad. So if you're gonna, the majority of folks that are out there, I'd say probably 90% of the traders are long-term traders, or at least swing traders, let's put it that way. And a swing trader is someone who could get out on a daily basis if you're trading 15-minute chart. That's a real tough act to do, though. I wouldn't suggest that. You're probably going to go overnight with carry trades. But don't be so quick to pass judgment, negative judgment, on those of us that scalp, because we're not really doing what you perceive we're doing, because you're looking at it through a different view. My hair is getting blown all over the place. The wind is beautiful, and instead of talking to you folks, I'm just going to go enjoy the day and then get back inside when the sun heats the place up. Peter Rose, Longwood Currency Trading. Have a great day and have a great trading day.